You're here to get better at chess. Have you thought why you want to get better? Is it because you want to show off to your friends? Or maybe, impress the ladies? Just kidding, chess has no ladies. You want to get better because every chess player associates his chess play with his self-worth. If you play good chess today, you will be confident throughout the day, your mood will be happy, and your success will extend outside the 64 squares of the chessboard. So let me take you on a journey. By the end, you'll not only be a better chess player, but, nothing but, you won't learn how to fly here, but your rating will fly upwards. I am a cute, yet strict teacher. Good luck, let's begin. The chessboard is composed of 64 squares, 32 light squares, and 32 dark squares. In correct alignment, the bottom right square is a light square. The center is the most important part of the board. The side which controls the center usually has the upper hand. The white pieces will be placed on these two rows. The black pieces on these two. The more number of squares one side can control, the better the chances of winning. This guy is my enemy. Why, you ask? He stole my pizza 2,000 years back. Since then we are at war. The chess family is a huge one. It has 32 members. I am the king. I can move only one square in each direction. I am the most important piece on the chessboard. If I get checkmated, the game is over.
I am the black king. Same as the white king. I just have a bigger
ego.
Sure, let's say ego.
We are the pawns. We move only one square forward, but on the initial square, we can also move two squares at once. But remember, only on the first square. We capture one square diagonally.
We are the horses or knights as our girlfriends call us. They're knight in shining armor.
Shut up, dude, you're single. We move 2.5 squares in an L shape.
We might move in an L shape, but our life is full of doubloons.
Not to forget, we are the only pieces which can jump over other pieces. So in the starting position, we can come out easily.
We are pointy and are called bishops. We move any number of squares, but only diagonally.
As all the squares on a diagonal are of the same color, we always stay on one color of squares.
Hence, we work best when there are two of us, controlling all squares.
We are the rooks.
We move any number of squares in a straight line,
horizontally or vertically.
We are the queens.
We are the most powerful piece on the board. We can move any number of squares in any direction.
We are like a combination of a rook and bishop, fusing together.
You can't move like me though.
Each piece has been assigned a certain number of points. More the points, stronger the piece. A pawn is worth 1 point. A horsey is worth 3 points. A bishop is worth 3 points. A rook is worth 5 points. A queen is the strongest piece on the board and is worth 9 points. The king is priceless. It cannot be captured. It can only be checkmated, and that is the objective of the game, to checkmate the opponent king. Check. Let me explain this simple concept with an example. Let's say this is the house of a rich man, and thieves are trying to break in. So they walk in when the owners are not at home, and kick the door hard, hoping it breaks. Well, the rich people are not stupid. They bought a super thick door. So the thieves keep kicking, hoping that one day the kick will be enough to break down that door. A check is just like that kick. A threat to the opponent king. It's one of our pieces, attacking the king. For example, like this, or this. It doesn't mean that the door is broken down or the game is over, but it does mean that there are some problems for the opponent. How can one defend against a check? There are 3 ways. 1. You could install CCTV cameras that automatically send live feed to the police. The police come and arrest them. Problem solved. In chess terms, you could simply capture the attacking piece. But this is rare. If our opponent knew we could simply capture the piece, he wouldn't give a check. Second, you could place a guard behind the door. That is, you could insert a piece between the checking piece and the king. This gives the attacking piece an option to capture another piece, but the king remains safe. Third, can simply move out of the city where thieves are stealing from you. In chess terms, you can simply move the king somewhere else where it won't be under a check. Now what happens when there is no way to stop a check? For example, here, the king can't capture, can't bring a piece in between, and can't move anywhere safe. This is checkmate, and the end of the game. This is what you want as a chess player. Everything you do in a chess game should lead you to this moment. Castling is a one-time option that both white and black have to make their king safe. Just like soldiers in a real war have shields, the kings also want a pawn shield to keep themselves safe. Why? Keep in mind that the objective of the game of chess is to checkmate the king. So even if you win a free queen, it's completely useless if your king gets checkmated. So how do you castle? There are 2 types of castling, kingside and queenside. This is what kingside castling looks like. And this is queenside. In both cases the king moves a fixed 2 squares. Castling happens between the king and the rook under 4 conditions. 1. The king and rook must not have moved before in the game. 2. There should be no piece in between the king and the rook. 3. The king must not be under check. 4. Any square over which the king passes during castling must not be under attack. Let's see some examples. After the initial moves, we reach the critical position. The king is not under check, hasn't moved before, neither has the rook. There are no pieces in between and clearly no squares which the king moves over or attacked. Hence, the white king can castle. Example 2. What do you think? Can the white king castle here? Pause the video and think. No, he can't, as the bishop attacks the square the king will land on. Hence, castling here is illegal. Example 3. After these not so normal moves, we reach this final position. Can white castle here? Pause the video and think. No, he can't, as the rook has moved before, castling is illegal. Example 4. In this example, white moves the king, so does black. And then both sides move their king back. Can both sides still castle? Pause the video. Once the king has moved, castling is illegal for the rest of the game. So no, when should you castle in a game? As early as possible. Your king is the most vulnerable in the center and needs to be tucked safely into the corner.
Hey honey, can I join you in the corner?
Hell no. Why do you think you are the most powerful piece on the board? So that you do most of the work and I just chill. Ha, fell straight into my trap. Go work now. En passant is the freakiest chess rule which confuses beginners like crazy. Usually pawns move 1 or 2 squares up the board and capture sideways 1 square. But in a very specific scenario of your opponent pawn, adjacent to your pawn, moves 2 squares and lands on your side, you are allowed to capture that pawn, as if it had moved 1 square. Why does this rule exist? It's because the pawn is trying to avoid a battle by running away, and chess is not a game for cowards. Is en passant forced? Absolutely not. If black plays this move here, white can choose to capture en passant or not. But he has this choice for one move. Once he plays something else, en passant is no longer possible. Stalemate is a rare situation where the weaker side has no moves, but is also not under a check. For example here, black has few pieces on the board, and none of them can move, even the king. But white hasn't given a check. So how could you lose a game where your opponent hasn't made a threat to your king? You can't. Hence, a stalemate is considered as a draw in chess. Learning and remembering chess notation is probably one of the most difficult tasks for a chess player. It's so hard to remember, isn't it? This chapter will take care of all your problems. First, let's look at this square in the center. Do you know its notation? It's d4. How did we come up with it? It lies on the d file. In the 4th rank. So, d, followed by 4. Similarly, each square on the chessboard has a certain name, and when pieces move to these squares, we have to include them in the notation. For example, a king moving to d4 is kd4, where k stands for king, and that's me, your handsome teacher. Queen moving to d4 is qd4, bishop is bd4, knight is nd4, rook is rd4. Only for a pawn we don't include any prefix and the move is just written as d4. Given enough time, we could easily find this out. But how can we do this fast? Here's a trick. Imagine the chessboard as a playground. There are 8 boys at the bottom and 8 girls on the left. The first king's name is Mr. A, the second is Mr. B, and so on till Mr. H. The girls were funnily named after numbers by their parents. So the first girl is Miss 1, second is Miss 2, all the way till Miss 8. These 8 pairs of people will fall in love and become best friends when they meet, but only if you can help them. Your job is to tell them which square will they meet their lover on. So for example, when I highlight this square, you have to immediately find which is the couple who meets here. Can you do that? Okay, be fast or the people will be sad. It's Mr. E and Miss 6. They will fall in love on the E6 square. Which couple do you think would meet on this square? Pause the video if required and think. Mr. C and Miss 7 will meet on the C7 square. Today you helped 8 boys and 8 girls meet each other. For the next 7 days, take out 5 minutes every day, open an empty chessboard, and help 8 more boys and girls. This will help you remember chess notation once and for all. While visualizing an empty board is difficult, it's even harder to visualize a chessboard with pieces. Let's look at a trick. This is a bishop. It sits on the b2 square. If I ask you, which squares can it move to in one move, what will be your answer? All these squares. These are the squares the bishop controls. But what if I move the bishop to c3 now and ask you again? But this time, the bishop disappears. Now, which are the squares? These ones. But what if now, I take the bishop to d4, and now both the bishop and the board have vanished? Now can you remember the squares? That's the challenge. To reach that level, we have to visualize how the pieces move on a chessboard. Let's take an empty one. And now put a serial killer bishop on a1. There are 7 victims in front of the killer. But to kill them, he has to name the square of the victim. Can you help the bishop? Pause the video and name all the squares. b2, c3, d4, e5, f6, g7, h8. If you did that, congrats. Using this pattern of moving chess pieces on an empty board will help you visualize the chessboard better. Oh shit. This is a test for your notation. I will highlight 10 squares one by one. Guess the notation of the square. You will have 10 seconds for each. Ready? Great. Let's go. f5. a7. d3. h7. h1. e4. d7. e6. c3. h2. How many did you get? Now regardless of the number, let's try again. Focus. 10 squares, coming up. d8. b1. g3. h5. d1. f2. b4. e8. c7. a4. Most likely you would have been a bit faster this time. Just keep practicing and you'd be crazy good in no time. To win a chess game, we will at some point have to capture our opponent's pieces. Usually, we don't point a gun in their face. We do it the polite way, picking them up and kicking them off the board. But how? This is a rook and it has to capture all these pawns, 1 pawn per move. Can you do that? Let's do it together. First, takes on d7. Then h7. h4. b4. b2. f2. f5. c5. Let's look at a horsey now. e5. c4. b6. a4. b2. d1. f2. g4. h6. Queen takes on g6. b6. b3. c2. f2. These capture drills train your mind for pattern recognition and will help you spot hanging pieces in a real game that you can capture. You study in school, then go to college, all in hopes to get a job which can pay you a good salary. You transform from a child into an adult. Same way, the pawns have dreams. They want to move all the way from the second rank to the 8, where they can transform into any piece they want. You choose. Usually we choose the queen because it's the strongest. For example here, white is only a pawn up, and if the pawn couldn't transform, he'd not be able to win. But he pushes the pawn to the 8 rank and transforms it to a queen. Now, winning is easy. This is an exceptional case however, where if you promote your pawn to a queen, it leads to a stalemate. Remember stalemate? Your opponent has no moves but is not under a check. Hence, the game is a draw. That's why we make a rook, the next most powerful piece, and then win the game. Attack. When has an army won a battle without attacking? Never. But how do you attack something on the chessboard? You coordinate your pieces. Usually our opponents aren't stupid. If you attack their pieces with yours, they will defend it. So you need to attack it again. That means, more than one piece of yours have to coordinate to attack an enemy weakness, together. Let's say he defends again. You attack again. With every attack, your opponent falls under more pressure. Remember, your opponent is human. The more pressure he feels, the more mistakes he will make. But keep in mind, it takes a lot of moves, that is resources, to attack an enemy point. So choosing this weakness to attack is important too. If you attack a thick wall with your hand, it won't break. Hence, choose such points to attack which are difficult for your opponent to defend. For example, here, you have a bishop on the e2 square. You have two choices: to move the bishop to f3 and attack the rook, or to move the bishop to c4 and attack the f7 pawn. What would you choose? Pause and think. You play bishop c4. Surprised? Why shouldn't we attack the rook? The rook is worth 5 points, while the pawn is worth 1. We attack the pawn because it's difficult to defend. In fact, how can black defend it? There is no way. While if you attack the rook, he can move it easily and our move was wasted. Choose your targets carefully. Defense. I will explain this concept with an example. Here black has lined up his queen and bishop on this diagonal, pointing it towards the g2 pawn in front of our king. He has coordinated his pieces. If we ignore this threat and play, let's say h3, he checkmates us with queen takes g2. So, we also need to learn to defend. Hence move like f3, blocking the diagonal, or queen g3, defending g2 work well. Checkmates with a queen and rook. These are elementary ways to checkmate which you absolutely must know. Let's start with the queen. Starting with a random position, we are going to move the white queen at a horsey's distance to the black king, 2.5 square away, on every move. So here, the king moves, here, king moves, here, and we repeat this until the black king reaches the last square on the board, which will be one of these 4 squares. Once that happens, we won't move the queen closer, as that would be stalemate. Careful. Then we bring the king closer move by move, until it reaches 1 square away, and then we checkmate the black king. Now for the rook. We slowly cut off the black king by putting both kings in front of each other and checking the opponent king, so that he has to move backwards. Simple. But to get that check, we will have to work. Check. King goes to e6. And now we move our king in front of the black king. King moves, we chase him. Until finally he attacks our rook. This is where we switch the rook to the other side of the kings. Now if king to f6, we can again check and force the king back. So he has to move to h6. We chase, until finally the black king has to concede. Check. King again chases our rook. We switch the rook, and again force the king back. And we again repeat the same formula on the last rank. Because there is no way to go back anymore, it's checkmate. Practice this against a friend or using online drills. That's the only way to become fluent in checkmating with a queen and rook. Well begun is half done, and hence the starting moves of the game are very important. Some important rules. Usually we are going to move our pawns 2 squares in the center. They helps us control more squares quicker. 2. We will usually develop horses before bishops. As horses have only 1 good central squares while the bishop have 2, it's always good to play the only option first. Third, a good square for the bishop on f1 is c4. We play this bishop first as we want to castle quickly. We castle. And then we develop our pieces from the queenside. Queenside is the left half of the board, the other half is kingside. Horsey's first, and then the bishop. Now all our pieces are set up for battle. The fool's mate. The name is self-explanatory. This is a great opening trap to test who is the most stupid friend you have. And this is also the shortest way a chess game could end. Surprisingly, only the black side can achieve this. How? Let's find out. First, you slap your opponent for being stupid. Oops, that's the last step. First, white plays this ugly move f3. Why is it so bad? Because it opens diagonals towards his king, takes away the square form the horsey, and so on. Now, black plays e5, a pawn move in the center. Brilliant. And here, your stupid friend plays pawn to g4. This is when you raise your head to look at him for a moment, just to see if this is your friend or just a penguin which has escaped Antarctica and has illegally entered your country. Then you play queen to h4, checkmate. The king has nowhere to go, and this is where you slap him. The scholar's mate. While the fool's mate is rare, the scholar's mate is quite common. Both colors can attempt it and the game ends in just 4 moves. Let's see how. White plays the pawn to e4, and black responds in kind with e5. Then you sneakily put your bishop on c4. A harmless bishop. It can't have any evil intentions, right? Wrong. After your opponent's move, let's say knight to c6, you calmly put your queen out to f3. What is the queen doing here, you ask? She's winning the game like a boss. Both the bishop and the queen are attacking f7, and if black doesn't know what's happening, and plays a normal move, boom, it's checkmate. The king can't move anywhere, the queen can't be captured as it's defended by the bishop, and no piece can get in between the king and queen. It's over. I call the next one the zigzag trap, and this is really effective at the beginner level. Here after e4 and e5, you play queen to h5. Usually I don't recommend bringing your queen out early, but today is her birthday. This trap works especially well against players who know the scholar's mate, as they think our plan is to play bishop c4 next and threaten checkmate on f7. Hence, they panic and play the move g6. Here we reveal our true intentions. We take the pawn on e5, with check, but even more importantly, when black defends, we take the rook on h8. Free, black can give a check, but we just defend. Game over. The legal mate is a bit complicated, but a beautiful one. e4, e5, bishop c4, d6. But here we play normal developing moves. Knight f3, and suddenly, our opponent brings his bishop out to g4. He uses a theme called pin, which we will go deeper into later. But for now, it's easy to grab that. If we move our horsey anywhere, we lose our queen. And losing queen, bad. For now we develop our second horsey. And he does too. And suddenly we attack his bishop. He says, "Ha, I will keep this pin," and moves back. But then we start dancing in our chairs as we play a brilliant move. Horsey takes e5. What? Our queen? No. Our opponent thinks we are stupid. He laughs, giggles like a 3-year-old girl, and grabs our queen. We act depressed for a moment, as if we made a mistake. "Oh no, my queen," yells the white king. When suddenly, he raises his head, gives a sigma pose for the cameras, as he plays bishop takes f7 check. "So what?" says black. King to e7. But his smile turns into shock. His jaw drops to the center of the earth as we deliver checkmate with the move, knight to d5. It's over.
Sir, this is a murder trial. Get out.
Oops, sorry. There's a saying that chess is 99% tactics. Tactics are moves which make a threat. They are of many kinds. Let's dive into the important ones one by one. First, the fork. It's the act of one chess piece attacking 2 at the same time. Hence, our opponent can only defend one and will lose the other. Let's look at examples. Here, black has just played his bishop out to the e6 square and offers to exchange it for ours. Both pieces are worth 3 points, so that's a fair trade. But we are greedy. Why give up 3 points, when we can give only 1? Here the pawn on d4 moves to d5, forking the bishop and horsey. Black can only save 1. Just a point to keep in mind, in most cases, the forked pieces are of higher value than the forking piece. Otherwise it would just be a trade. If there was a pawn on c6, we wouldn't call it a fork for that reason, as black can simply move the bishop and not lose any material. Example 2. White played horsey to b5 on the last move and black completely missed his idea. He played the normal move a6, attacking the horsey. Pause the video, find the move by the horsey which can attack 2 pieces. Go! Horsey takes c7, both the queen and rook are attacked, black can only save one. Pins are the most common chess tactic. Here, a chess piece ties down a lower value piece to one square, as moving it would lead to the loss of a higher value piece behind. Sometimes pins by themselves are great, for example here. The rook cannot move as the queen would be lost, so white is guaranteed 5 points in return for giving up 3. In other cases, the pin by itself doesn't do much, but it can help build pressure on the pinned piece. Here, the bishop pins the knight, and our knight can come to d5 to apply even more pressure on the f6 horsey. This is another example. White attacks the black queen and it drops back to the c6 square. Can you find the deadly pin for white? Pause the video and take as long as you want. Here, white plays bishop to the b5 square, pinning the queen to the king. As the queen can never move, we win the queen worth 9 points for a bishop worth 3 points. This game is already over. Skewers are similar to pins. In pins, the valuable piece is behind the pinned piece. Here the valuable piece is in front. So when you attack this piece, it has to move, and the piece behind falls. For example, here, the black pieces are a bit awkwardly placed and white can play the move bishop to g5, attacking the queen.
Hey, stop attacking me.
As the queen is more valuable than the rook, it has to move, and we capture the rook. Easy, isn't it? Back rank. As the name suggests, there is something fishy about this tactic. This refers to a situation where our king is on our first rank and one unfortunate check on this rank leads to a checkmate. Here is one ridiculous example to highlight this tactic. White has 5 queens and is completely winning on paper, but his king is stuck on the first rank. Here, black can play the move rook a1 check, and the king is checkmated. White can give up his queens one by one, but the end result won't change. Here is an example. Here black is a pawn up and is about to make a new queen, but white has one last trick up his sleeve. Pause the video and find a way to use the back rank trick. Usually, you would never give up a queen for a rook, but here, after queen e8, black is checkmated. Remember, the goal of the game is to checkmate the opponent king. The easiest way to avoid back rank checkmates is to move one of these pawns one square, so that our king always has a square to go to. Past pawn tactics are quite common. Let's look at an example. Here white has only 2 pawns for a rook, so 2 points versus 5 points. It should be lost, right? But the pawns are so far advanced that they are stronger than a rook. Here, white can play the pawn to b7. If the rook takes, then b8 is a new queen, so the rook goes to b8. But now, pawn to c7, and the rook is trapped. He can take one pawn, but we get a new queen. The game is over. Smothered mate is the most beautiful chess tactic to exist. Just like my love for the white queen, the smothered mate is hard to put into words, so let me show you. In this position, you can notice the dangerous horsey hovering around the black king. You also notice the open diagonal towards the king. Combining both, white plays queen to e6 check. If the rook intercepts, we can just take, so king to h8. Now, knight to f7 check. Very important, if the rook takes, then queen e8 is checkmate, so the king has to come back to g8. Now we have a beautiful move, knight to h6, double check, from the queen and the horsey. King has to move. Next up, a legendary move. A move inspiring millions of chess players, a move that will make your jaw drop to the floor. Queen to g8. What? You ask? The queen sacrifices herself to win the game. The king cannot take as the horsey defends the queen, so rook takes. And now, knight to f7, checkmate. The king is smothered by his own rook. Doesn't it hurt when your own family stabs you in the back? Hey, why are you trying to kill me?
If you die, I can marry the queen.
Damn, you my friend, are a gigasimp. Congrats. Center. This is an important concept. When I touched a chessboard for the first time in my life, I thought playing the g-pawn or h-pawn on the first move made a lot of sense. Then rook h3, and maybe even swing the rook into the center. Yeah, newsflash. That doesn't work. Remember how the chessboard has 64 squares? It's simple to understand that the more squares you have control over, the higher chance of you winning the game. Let's put a horsey on f3. It controls these 8 squares, and in 2 moves can reach the black king. A horsey on h3 only controls 4 squares, and it's just useless. Let's look at a pawn. It controls 2 squares, opens up the bishop and queen, while a pawn on h4 just opens nothing. Also, never forget that after castling, we are supposed to tuck our king into the corner for safety. Combining all ingredients into one super dish, I have come up with this one rule for you. When given a choice between a central strategy or a flank strategy, 9 out of 10 times, choose the center one. Play in the center. These are two different armies. One side is on the battlefield, with tanks, missiles, planes, slowly moving towards the enemy. This is the other army. They are waiting at home, eating pizza. Which side? Oops. Which side do you think will win the war? Clearly the first one. To win a game of chess, if you have more pieces developed, you will have more chances to checkmate your opponent. Hence, for the first 10 moves of the game, your focus should be on developing all your pieces as quickly as possible so that they are ready to attack. Bring your pieces into the game, quickly. In a game of chess, each side has 16 pieces. So which pieces to trade off and which to keep is a really important skill. Let's look at some themes which will make this decision easier. First, we should exchange pieces only if their points are higher or equal to ours. So we can give up a bishop to get a bishop or a rook. But we should not give up a rook to get a bishop. Just like we can give up the white queen to get the black queen.
What did you say?
Nothing, love you honey. Second, the side which has more material, that means more pieces, should exchange pieces. Look at this position. White has an extra rook. If white trades of all the remaining pieces, this is what remains on the board, he wins. Third, as a general rule, we can use piece exchanges to develop our pieces. How? Look at this example. Both sides have one rook on the e-file and one on the f-file. If you exchange rooks now, black takes back and his rook got activated to an open file for free. Yes, rooks love open files as they can utilize them well. But what if we waited and played something else? Now if black takes, we take. And we developed our rook for free. With the active rook, we are clearly better. The most important principle in chess is king safety. Hence I always carry 2 bodyguards. Nothing else matters if you screw this one up. Let's look at some examples to highlight the importance. 1. Black has just taken your horsey. Do you capture with the bishop or the pawn? Pause the video and think. You take with the bishop. If you capture with the pawn, your king becomes weak. Earlier it had a pawn shield in front of it. But now, the king is bare open. Anyone can walk up to him and beat him up. Second example. Here white has 2 options for castling, kingside or queenside. Which should he take? Pause the video and think purely in terms of king safety. You castle kingside. If you were to go queenside, it would not end well. As the black rook's file is open, he can launch an attack immediately. So, kingside castling is better. Psychology. Losing hurts. When I failed at school, I was sad. But my dad told me a lesson I will share with you. Son, fail quick. Yup, those were the 3 magical words that changed my life. The faster you make mistakes, the faster you can learn and never repeat them again. So, be courageous. Never be scared of trying something new. Be curious about the game and you will get better faster. My queen, I want to tell you those 3 magical words.
Oh my god, really? I'm so happy.
Queen, fail quick. Magnus Carlsen, the greatest of all time. With a peak rating of 2,882, he would beat all of us blindfold. But he wasn't born with that skill. Imagine if Carlsen was born and 2 minutes later he started rapping chess notation. E4 D4 is my swag. Play fast noob. Does your internet have a lag? This chapter will motivate us on how terrible the greats of the game were in the past. And we start with Carlsen. This is a Carlsen game from 2001. His rating here is 2064. That's it. The position is equal for now. Carlsen has a passed pawn, but his king is not so safe. Here Carlsen blunders spectacularly. He plays queen to e3. His opponent, Mr. Hole, plays rook f1 check, winning the game. How? If you take this rook, then you lose the queen. And if you play what Carlsen played, king h2, then queen takes queen, and black wins a rook. Now how many of you have heard of the name Mr. O. Hole? You might have heard of A-Holes, but not Carlsen's opponent. Imagine Carlsen going home after this game. Oh damn, I can't play chess. How can I blunder a rook in 1 move? I should quit chess. What if he had? Something to think about. Fabiano Caruana, one of the greatest in modern times. My wife has a huge crush on him. So babe, why don't you take this one?
Oh my god, Caruana is so cute. But there was a time he wasn't so cute. At least his moves sucked big time. This game took place in 2001 as well. Take a guess at Caruana's rating. It was 1500. And here Caruana is worse. His king has no pawn cover, but thanks to the opposite color bishops, the game isn't over yet. Maybe rook g8 or queen e7 hold on for now, but I challenge you to find what Caruana played. Take a wild guess. Rook f8, and his opponent just captured the free rook. If this guy can become a world championship challenger, who's stopping you?
Vichy Anand, 5-time world champion. He's won more world championships than the number of women I've dated. Wait, who wrote that? Haha, now it's correct. But would you believe it if I told you that he once lost a game in 6 moves? That too when he was already a strong grandmaster. Hereafter e4 e5, horsey f3, horsey f6, takes, d6, back in horsey takes e4, horsey c3. And here, Vichy fell into an opening trap. Not making this up, he played bishop f5, and after queen e2, resigned. Why? Because the horsey is pinned and d3 would next move win it. His opponent must have moonwalked out of the tournament hall. The real secret of all these champions is not that they don't make mistakes, but that they learn from them. And more importantly, never repeat them. Making a mistake should hurt, otherwise you will repeat it again and again and again. Hey, why did you slap me?
Why did you like the Black Queen's photo on Instagram? Now, you'll remember your mistake.
Women. Okay, deserve that one. Now let's look at one beautiful move played by each of these players. First, Carlsen. In the tie-break game of the World Championship match in 2016, Carlsen uncorked one of the best moves ever played, queen to h6, sacrificing the queen, forcing checkmate in one of 2 ways. Second, Caruana. Here he turned into a beast. First, he sacrifices the rook, and then the bishop, and finally, queen to a8 is checkmate. Damn, that was sick. Next, Vichy. Incredibly complicated position. Vichy plays a stunning move, bishop to g6, sacrificing his queen. Now everything happens with check, 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 and mate. To play these brilliant moves, all you have to do is make sure you never repeat your mistakes. Okay, time to check Instagram. Oh, the Black Queen looks beautiful in this picture. NANI? Now we will look at a typical chess game where we will include all the principles in action.
Oh, I heard you're looking for someone to play with.
What the hell? Who are you?
The last person you will ever see. I'm the serial killer who roams the streets at night.
What? Please don't kill me.
If you beat me, I'll let you live.
Damn, should I just try to run away? No, I have to set an example for the people watching. I accept. Pawn to e4. I will play my pawn in the center.
Pawn to e5.
Now, I will play the horsey to f3. Usually it's good to develop horseys before bishops as horseys usually have only one good square, while bishops have many.
Hello.
Oh my god, you scared me.
You weren't moving for a while, so I wanted to make sure you were okay. Whom would I kill then? Horsey c6.
Enough, serial killer. I will beat you at chess. I will win. Bishop c4.
Bishop c5. You really trust your pieces, don't you?
Of course. Pawn to d3.
Horsey f6. That's amazing, considering my partner already killed one of your pieces and is hiding as them.
Oh my god. What? Which piece?
That's a secret.
I can't even trust my own army. Crap. Bishop go to g5 and pin the horsey.
Ha ha ha. You think you can pin my horsey? Pawn attack.
Bishop drop back. Keep the pin.
Pawn to g5, harass his bishop.
Damn, he is not backing down. I have to do something. Horsey, take the damn pawn.
Oh, look at this. So you are an idiot.
Yes, I agree. I gave up a horsey of 3 points for 2 pawns. That is 2 points. But, you have a rating of 3000. If I play normal chess, I will lose. So, I will scare you.
Did you say you'll scare a serial killer? Partner, did you hear that?
LOL, I did.
Wait, where did that noise come from?
Pawn takes.
Bishop takes.
Rook attack the bishop.
Pawn to h4.
Pawn to d6.
Now I am going to use the tactical theme of pin to put pressure on your horsey. The bishop already pins it. Horsey come to c3 and after his move, go to d5 and attack the pinned horsey.
What the hell? How are you playing so well? How do I defend here? Rook, come to g6.
Ha, this isn't enough. I will use coordination to attack your horsey again. Queen, come to f3. Once that happens, you can't defend the horsey. It's time to resign soon. What the hell, queen?
Serial killers never lose. Goodbye, king. Now, I will take over your course.
Damn, it was nice teaching you, my friends. But before I go, 2 lessons for you. 1. Be courageous, enjoy the game, and be curious.
What's the second lesson?
Don't play with serial killers.